All right. So, hello, everyone. My name is Bobby Lynn Pekic. I use the she series pronouns, and I'm the executive director for orientation and student onboarding. I know I had the distinct pleasure of meeting many of our families during our orientation program and throughout some of our live chats. So, wonderful to be with you again. Today, we will be talking a little bit about how to prepare for this upcoming Thanksgiving and winter break. And so, for those of you who your students are living on campus and they've been experiencing this newfound freedom, what does that look and feel like when they may be returning home? For some of our students, they may not return home. They may choose to stay on campus or travel. And so we want to talk a little bit about what that looks like as well. So we have some fabulous campus colleagues, campus celebrities, as I like to say, who are joining us today. And they'll be our panelists to talk a little bit more in depth about what you can expect, some tips, and some things to really think about. As you probably know, this is being recorded, and we do this so that way you are able to access this at a later date. And one thing that is fabulous about our community is that we are a global campus community. And so we recognize that there is not one perfect time that we could pick that would work for everyone. So for those of you who are unable to join us live, want to make sure that you have access to these resources as well. Our live chats can be found on our Bentley Orientation YouTube channel. And I'm hoping that you're familiar with this, but if not, if you just look at New Falcon Experience on the Bentley website, it will bring you to our page, and there's a direct link right there for our YouTube channel. And of course, if you have any questions or concerns about how to access, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're happy to send you direct links or make sure that you have it in an accessible format so that you can view that. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to talk a little bit about what this fall semester has looked like. Again, preparing for Thanksgiving and winter break tips with our panelists, and then talk a little bit about some spring semester highlights. So what has this fall semester really looked like for you and for your students? So you may remember just a few short months ago, students came to campus for our fall orientation program. This picture, I think, just encapsulates the experience and the excitement of that day. And one of our panelists is also featured in this photo, so you'll hear from them shortly. But another experience that's really important for our students in this fall semester are their Falcon Discovery seminars. And so this is a seminar that all of our first year students take. They start in their orientation program, and then that transitions into their discovery seminar. If we have any families who are on the call that their students transferred into Bentley, it's a similar experience, but it is called our transfer seminar. So they start in their orientation program and go into their transfer seminar, just so that way students are able to start to make those connections and start to build some of those relationships. So those are two cohort experiences that your students may have shared some information with you on. The other pieces we wanted to highlight are some of the engagement opportunities. So when your students aren't in class, or if they're living on campus, if they're in their residence halls, what are ways that they continue to engage with this community? And so a few of these pieces that we wanted to highlight are our Falcon 40 program, which was a programming schedule in the first 40 days for students to find new ways to connect with the community, to experience all that the community has to offer. And that might be something within our actual campus or on our campus. That could be in our local Waltham area, or that could even be in our Boston area. So hopefully your students were able to take advantage of some of those opportunities. We also had our activities fair, and this runs every semester and is an opportunity for students to learn a little bit about what are some of these opportunities outside of the classroom. How can I fill some of this time with folks who I can connect with and learn a little bit more? And if your student took advantage of that and maybe started thinking about some clubs and organizations, great. If your student did not take advantage of it, no worries, because we will be hosting one at the start of the spring semester, and we'll continue to do that throughout their time here at Bentley. Our first year students also took part in class elections. So we have an organization called Class Cabinet where our students are able to run for elected positions. And so we had a wonderful cohort of students who just took part in elections. They are filling a few more of those vacancies, but really looking forward to be able to host some different programs to pull together that class unity and be able to really start their leadership journey at Bentley. We just hosted our Culture Fest program, which provides an opportunity for different offices and clubs and organizations to really highlight different aspects of their identity, of their culture. And there's always a lot of really good food that's tied into this programming and a lot of great learning, and especially from our students sharing about their culture. Just something that we really, really love participating in our fall semester. So you may have heard your students speak about that. And then the last piece is our Bentley Plus program, which is our signature experience here on campus. It provides an opportunity for students to identify competencies that they would like to learn and grow in. And what they do is they meet with advisors, and then they have the opportunity to engage in different opportunities in and outside of the classroom to really help to learn and grow in those competencies. This is a collaborative effort that allows our students to think about their community, their connection, their curriculum, and then also how are they tying this into life beyond Bentley? So as we start to think about career or next step beyond Bentley. So if your students haven't jumped into Bentley Plus, they have a lot of time to do that. This is something that they can pick up at any semester, but something that we would definitely want to highlight for them to consider. And then the last piece that I wanted to just reflect on are some of our family connections. So we hosted our post-orientation family workshop that many of you joined us in. We also had our Falcon weekend program, and that's something that happens annually. So if you weren't able to join us this year, definitely hope that you'll be able to join us for a future weekend. And then our live chats. So we know, again, that families are busy and that you are staying connected with your student and you want to support them and you want to be a part of this experience. But sometimes you might not have the information. And so we're continuing these live chats to have this open relationship with our families because we do really view our families as partners in this experience. We, of course, want to make sure that the students are self-advocating and taking the lead in this, but we know they're going to come to you, and we want to make sure that we can prepare you with as much resource and knowledge as possible. So we have a few more live chats that will happen this semester, and then we will invite you to a few that will happen in the spring semester as well. So this is the quickest version that I could give of an overview of this fall semester. But what I wanted to do before we get to our panelists is just quickly highlight how our Division of Student Affairs continues to support your students and just give you some insight. So again, if your students are coming to you with questions or thinking about how they can receive support, that you also have this information. So I'm going to invite my colleague Nicole to share a little bit about our focus areas within our division.
Thank you so much, BL. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nicole Shabat-Weifrich. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Associate Dean of Student Engagement here in the Division of Student Affairs at Bentley. And as BL said, just would love to provide a little bit of a philosophical foundation for how we approach our work with students. I think all of us here on this call today feel incredibly lucky that we get to do so much work with your wonderful students and be in the Bentley community. And we have a few focus areas in which we kind of pocket our work and that we use to help define the values that we hold really closely in our work. So the first here is student well-being. We have our health center, we have our counseling center. These are resources that we have actually found that our new students, our first year students, are taking advantage of in incredibly high numbers. So your students are really understanding and engaging in these resources, which is wonderful. We also have staff that are doing programming around wellness, and that can be anything from balance and stress management to understanding health and resources that we have on campus and peer supported opportunities as well, because oftentimes, you're your students, or maybe more comfortable speaking to a peer about something than one of our staff members. Although we do find that our staff in the health center and the counseling center are incredibly accessible and supportive of our students. This also encompasses spiritual development, which kind of bridges over student well-being and equity and inclusion in our focus areas. But we have an incredibly robust spiritual life program where our students across any faith that they identify with have resources, peer groups, staff who are supporting, prayer opportunities, services, and just general spiritual exploration and well-being through that lens of spiritual development. So our student well-being is incredibly central to the work that we do, and we're really proud of the resources that we have to offer. Equity and inclusion, again, is a core topic, thought process, driver of our work, making sure that our students feel welcome on our campus community, that we are encouraging students to learn across difference, to connect with students who identify differently than they do. So this shows up in, our leadership team conversations and the work that we do as a division, but we also see our students bringing these conversations around equity and inclusion and access to opportunities to us. Our Multicultural Center, our Center for International Students and Scholars, our Gender and Sexuality Student Resources area. We have an incredible team in our Student Equity and Inclusion, and you'll get to hear from my colleague Christine a little bit more about this on the panel, who are really looking at making sure all our students feel valued and seen and heard on our campus, and that how we're approaching our work and their community here is driven by our values in this area. So again, our spiritual life team is also in our SEI area because we see that as such an important identity marker in addition to a factor of well-being. And then social connection as our final focus area. This is an area that is directly related to my work in our student programs and engagement team, as well as in our orientation and student onboarding area. But really all of us are navigating and engaging with our students around their social connection. We have over 130 different student organizations on campus and opportunities for students to engage in their residence hall communities and programs in those spaces and in our defined communities, and a lot of spaces in our student center, which is really the hub of our campus, where our students are able to gather, attend different events, plan different events. If you walk through our building, you can't ignore all the flyers and posters that are hanging up advertising the many different opportunities that students have. So if your student is struggling to get engaged and connected, and please, by all means, have them reach out, because there is so much going on. Sometimes it's just a matter of knowing where to look and how to find those resources. But we recognize that the value of our students' social connection in our community and finding their people here, whether that be students, coaches, faculty, staff, is a really, really important part of their development and their feeling of belonging and home. So that is a little bit, a very brief overview of kind of how we approach the work in our division. And certainly through the panel, I hope this expands for you and your understanding of how we each kind of manage our work with students and use this in our approach.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicole. And what I would love to do now, and I know this is what folks are eagerly awaiting for, is the opportunity to invite our panelists in to really start to talk more in depth about preparing for this Thanksgiving and winter break. For many of our students, this is the first time that they are living away from home. This is the first time that they might be experiencing some of these freedoms that, or negotiating some of these freedoms that they have. And so what we have heard is that when students are then maybe heading home for the first time, which sometimes does happen around that Thanksgiving break time, it could feel a little different. And so what we would like to do is really just have an honest conversation, discussion around some tips, some things to think about, and prepare yourself and maybe set some boundaries and expectations as you start to think about this transition back to your home. So what I'm going to do now is invite panelists to introduce themselves in this order, and then we'll go ahead and open it up to some questions. So Frank, would you like to start?
Thanks, BL. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure being here today. My name is Frank Bourgeois. I've been at Bentley University for 6 years. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Student Affairs and the Chief of Police. And I will pass it on to Nicole.
Hi again, everybody. Like I said, Associate Dean of Student Engagement. I've been at Bentley for, this is my 14th year. So happy to be with you today.
And hello, my name is Christine Lookner. I use she, hers pronouns. I'm the Associate Dean of Student Equity and Inclusion. So that encompasses our Center for International Students and Scholars, our Multicultural Center, Gender and Sexuality student programs, as well as Spiritual Life. And I have been at Bentley for 20 years, and I'm looking forward to talking with you all.
And good afternoon. My name is Vaughn Williams, Director of Athletics, and I've been at Bentley for 4.5 years now. Black and blue. Thanks for being with us today.
Well, thank you all so much for introducing yourself. I appreciate it. I think it's really helpful for our families to also put some faces to names. And hopefully folks are seeing that, we have staff here who have been here for some time, and just shows the connection that the community has. But as we start to think about what this transition could look like, I want to position my first question to Frank. I'm going to share a little secret with folks, but Frank had a daughter who went to Bentley. And so, Frank, I would love for you to share a little bit about what that experience was like for you, and how you kind of prepared yourself for what that first break could look like, and if there were any boundaries or expectations that you set to kind of help that be a smooth process.
Thank you, BL. What I thought the first break was going to look like was anything but what it ended up looking like. And I say that to all the folks on the screen here, because, when the students come back, and as BL alluded to, sometimes they're coming back for the first time. Let's not forget that they had a lot of friendships and connections with their high school friends, maybe places that they worked throughout the summer. And this is the first opportunity that they have to go back to that environment and catch up with some old friends. So as a parent, I know my wife and I were so excited to maybe have our daughter home and spend all this time with her, and neglecting to see the fact that there was a lot for her to catch up with. All of her friends that went on to college were home, and all the get-togethers that they have. And then lots and lots of laundry. Be prepared for lots of laundry. Students intentionally don't do their laundry for 2 weeks if they know they're coming home. And for most of the boys, they just throw their sheets and some of their clothes away and start fresh in January. So, but yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is to just, we all want to spend so much time with our students because we haven't seen them in so long, but to set the expectation that in a short period of time, they want to catch up with a lot of people, and you have to give them a little bit of room for that.
I appreciate that, Frank. Thank you for that. And I would love to get Nicole's perspective on, I keep mentioning this newfound freedom. And, I think for a lot of our traditional age college students, COVID was a big impact in how they may have experienced high school, and then transitioning into this life at Bentley where they do have some more of these freedoms. So I would love if you could give some reflections, Nicole, on, you talked about social connections, but if you could kind of talk a little bit more about what might that look like for them on a college campus with this newfound freedom. What might they be experiencing, and how might that translate to them now being home and thinking they have those same freedoms?
Yes, I appreciate the question. I think it's incredibly important. A couple things I'll share. I mean, I mentioned the number of student organizations we have on campus. I think a big change for new students as they're adjusting to college is that many times these organizations or student group meetings are happening at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. Our students are so busy during the day with class and work, potentially with practice if they're athletes, that they really maximize their late night hours. So things and extracurriculars that in high school they may have been doing, maybe around dinner time or just after dinner time or in the afternoon, a lot of those things are happening very late night. So our students' clocks have shifted a bit in terms of when they're used to being engaged. We also, on the weekends and some weeknights, have late night dining options that are open until 1 a.m. They are socializing and at events that are being hosted until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., quiet hours or later on the weekends. So again, their clocks are incredibly different, and they get used to navigating and moving about their days, as they like, without having to check in and let people know they're coming and going as they would at home. I'll admit my children are 10 and 8, and so I can't imagine a day where my child would leave the house and not tell me where they're going. But our students are incredibly independent in how they navigate their lives. So I do think as they get ready to come home and their clock is on this very different schedule and they're used to kind of popping down the hall and seeing their friends, they can feel a little bit isolated when they get home and they don't have their friends living right down the hall from them, and they're trying to navigate, to Frank's point, how to reconnect with people, but now do it on a time frame or potentially a curfew or a schedule that used to exist for them at home. So just helpful to understand for you all that there's a lot available to our students late into the night, and they may want to take the advantage and opportunity to sleep in as much as they can in the morning, knowing on breaks they don't have class. Certainly some of them will have work, but just that awareness that their schedules have really shifted and their ability to be independent has grown exponentially. And so fitting that back into a home and a family structure that has expectations and schedules and needs and desires from those family members to reconnect and potentially celebrate holidays, depending on which break it is, and what families observe, I think can feel sometimes like putting a square peg into a round hole. So encourage you all to have open conversations and about expectations with your students, to listen to them and what they feel like they're going to need, and just, if you can, provide that space for open communication, I think, as much as possible.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, Nicole. And, I think our first two questions, we were really focusing on the student going home. And we recognize that, some students may not go home. Some students may not have access to go home. And so would love to get some thoughts, Christine, as we think about for those who may choose to stay home or may choose to travel during that time, can you talk a little bit about kind of like what that looks like, and as families, maybe how you could encourage them to engage with their student in some of that preparation?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that question, Bill. Thank you. Because it's true that we all think of that as the typical experience of just go home for the break, and really not everyone does. Not everyone can. Not every, we have folks from across the world for which that's just not realistic. So it is nice to know that during our Thanksgiving break, our dormitories are open to our students. They can stay here, and there is a smaller version of a meal plan, but there is a meal plan available that students can purchase if they're going to be staying on campus. And similar to the winter break, there is an option for them to opt in to purchase the ability to stay here in the residence halls. So we know that this is something that happens with our students. We are here. We're here to support them. It is much quieter, so that is something to be aware of. There's not a lot of life going on campus during those break periods. So it's something that if your student is staying behind, you might want to really think about setting up a check-in schedule just to sort of keep them engaged. Or maybe that's a great time to go exploring Boston, or seeing some areas in Waltham that they haven't had the chance to visit yet, and sort of supporting them getting out and trying some new things while they're here. I do know also a lot of students take advantage of maybe getting invited to a friend, especially for the Thanksgiving period. A lot of the families around here are always excited to host someone new. So that might be, encourage them, I would say, if they've been invited, encourage them to take that step of saying yes, and just maybe visiting with a friend during the break periods.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like we do have a decent amount of students that will say, my roommate, I went home and I met their family and I got to spend Thanksgiving with them. And especially if it's students who have never experienced a Thanksgiving, just really neat to be able to have that opportunity as well. So thank you for sharing those reflections. Vaughn, I want to put you on the spot because we have some student athletes who we may have some games that are happening, especially during the winter break, that students can access. But the student athletes schedule and plan looks very different. So some students may be, going home if they're not in season. Some students may be here still in season and doing some of that work. So would love if you could give some insight into what do some of the breaks look like for our student athletes and how do people navigate that?
Right. Well, I think first of all, for the Thanksgiving Day break, we do have most of our athletes, half of them will stay. Some of these sports are competing during these times, so they are on campus. And, you know, we make sure that we make things right for them on Turkey Day and find some place for them to be, as we do, but we do compete. When we get to the holidays, around December holidays, obviously over the so-called winter break, more athletes go home for a little bit of time. Some of those that are in season, you know, the basketballs and the hockey and, you know, cross countries and some of those, and men's and women's swimming and diving. But then they come back early, right after the 25th, 26th, and they're here through New Year's, and they start to train, continue to train, and we compete and we get ready for January competition. So we do have a number of student athletes that are here on break. And if you are a student that is, and Christine alluded to some of these things over the holidays, and you have to be, we do have the fitness center that's open at different times. Not all the time, not 24 hours a day because of the limited people on campus, but we do offer you a place that you can work out during a restricted schedule. We have some days when we're off, but those calendars are out and your students will be able to get those schedules. We'll be posting those as we get clear to both the Thanksgiving time and then the holiday break time as we operate some of those times, knowing that there's students on campus and we want them to be able to move around based on the weather, get some exercise, get a workout in, and do those type of things for their mental health and obviously for their physical health as well. So.
Thank you, Vaughn. I appreciate that. And I know I referenced this too, but because our students are competing, that does mean that there are access to some home games that folks might be able to leverage as well. And, you know, I referenced that we do have a global community, so getting it to campus isn't always a possibility for everyone. But if you are close enough, Vaughn, you want to talk a little bit about how folks might be able to join us on campus for some of those games, families, students, etc.
For athletic events, as you say, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have a myriad of hockey games and basketball games during the break time. Students are free. Students are free, so there shouldn't be any problem with students coming in. We love to have people come to our games. If you go to our website, you will be able to see all the schedules of all the upcoming games. We have a host of hockey games in January, as well as men's and women's basketball. And then when we get into swimming and diving. So for students, free, and it's really minimal cost to bring your families on campus and enjoy some great competition. We're having a great fall right now athletically, and we're looking forward to having a great winter sports season as well. So we wish you'd come back to campus anytime.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you. So what I want to do now is I want to invite folks who are listening in today to open it up to questions that you might have for our panelists. I know we typically wait till the end for Q&A, but we've got some campus celebrities here who have lots of rich knowledge and information. And so want to open it up for any questions that you may have. And then we'll share some content with you about what your students can expect, for the spring semester. So feel free to open up that chat and put in any questions. Or I'm sorry, open up the Q&A and put in any questions.
Yeah, while folks, as they think about what questions they might have, I just also want to share that we have a few resources on campus more connected to our well-being for students that over break, if they have regularly scheduled counseling appointments, there may be opportunities to keep those virtually. The university is closed for 2 weeks, right around the Christmas holiday time period. I think this year it's from the 23rd through January 3rd. But the counseling staff and resources will be available and accessible to students. We also have a program called Protocol, which allows students to seek remote counseling care if they need it. So I just think it's important for families to understand that if their students are using these resources, break does not inherently mean that they lose access to those. So encourage your students to talk to staff they may be regularly connecting with in those areas. And also our care team, which is a group of staff and faculty who are here to navigate students who are working through some difficult situations, students that are anyone on campus is concerned about. Our care report form is available even for families to submit if you're worried about your student while they're at home. Again, you can submit that care report form. It's right on the Bentley website. And our staff here can certainly help and do some outreach with your students. So if any of your students while they're home are struggling, please know that our resources here are still extended to them. And if you have questions about any of those resources or how to access those, you can always email the general GA orientation account that you received the invite from today for this webinar, or any of us on the screen, and we can help you get those resources.
Thank you, Nicole. That is really important to highlight, and I appreciate that you reflected that. And we will have a few of our bits of contact information towards the end, so I'll make sure to share that so that people have that screen as well.
Sorry to hog so much airtime, but one other
Oh,
resource
please.
that I'd love to share with families, and we do have an events calendar on campus. So we have a university events calendar, but then also for our student organizations, we have a campus groups, which is a platform that we use for our student organization events. And a lot of those events are open for you to check out what's going on campus, and that could be something that you share with your student. So I will go ahead and put the links to both of those in the chat. Many of these events are actually open, and students do oftentimes, if you're local, invite family and friends to performances and other pieces. But you can get a sense as your student is leading up to finals, because I do think it's important between that Thanksgiving break and the end of the semester. It's a stressful time for our students. They're navigating final schedule and wrapping up their first semester in college. And we do provide a lot of de-stress events and opportunities for them to unwind. So I'll put the links to some of those events calendars in the chat for folks as well, so that you can utilize that as a resource if your student's looking for things to do.
Thank you for sharing that, Nicole. And I know there was one question that did come in about a past session that we led with academic advising, because students are going to be registering for courses this week. And so we will make sure that that recording is up on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to take a look at that. The students have had a pretty robust offering for preparation for this advising time period. So within their seminar cohorts, they had advising, like specific advising time with their staff and their advisors. They've also been invited to follow-up sessions if they wanted to have individual conversations with advisors to just ensure that they are taking the appropriate courses that are going to be helpful for their degree. And so students have been pretty prepared this time around. It does feel a little different than the summer. That process is a lot different than what the students experience once they're on campus. But if you are interested in seeing that, please take a look at our YouTube channel. And then the other piece is that the advising prep website that your students had access to over the summer is a resource that they continue to have. And there's a fabulous section for families and parents. So please feel free to take a look at that now or at any point over your students' time here at Bentley. That will continue to be updated so that it can be a useful resource. So it's not just for the first time that students register, but any of those times. There was a question that came in about access to grades. And so your student can give you access to see the aspects of the My Bentley portal, but unfortunately, due to FERPA, we do not give access to grades for families. So I do think that is important to note that you will need to be connecting with your students to have those conversations around academically, how are they doing? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And in regards to advisors, so students will be assigned an advisor, and we really encourage students to start connecting with advisors after their first year. because their first year is really about settling in. And then once they're getting into that second semester, getting into that that second year here at Bentley, that's where these more intentional conversations with advisor and determining major, et cetera, will take place. They are assigned, but if there is somebody that they really connect with that they would like to potentially shift to, then they can work with academic advising to make that shift. I would say that the undergraduate academic advising team makes themselves really accessible. So that way, if your student just wants to talk to a staff member so that they can get the support they need, that also exists. And it doesn't just have to be their specific advisor.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. I see that there is a question about concern around the food at the university and the meal plan. So happy to make sure that we can provide contact information directly to this family about who to contact in terms of questions. There's a question about, do you have to maintain your meal plan for the spring? I believe it really depends on the contract that you signed in the fall. Typically, the contract is for a full year, but I do know we have staff that works directly with Sodexo and our meal plan staff and team, and they would be happy to talk with you, hear your concerns, and see what they could do differently for your daughter. So I will put in the answer to that question, the best person to contact, as well as my contact information. So if I can help facilitate that at all, I would be happy to do that.
Thanks, Nicole.
BL, I'm happy to field the question here about attendance for courses, if that's helpful. So we have a question in the chat. Is there a minimum attendance required for the student to complete their courses? The answer to that actually does depend on the faculty member. So they set their own guidelines for the class. There is a minimum in order to be considered a Bentley student. But if they weren't meeting that, they already would have been withdrawn from that class. So if they're still going in their classes now, then they're there, but their minimum attendance requirement will be specified by each professor. Typically, they're allowed to miss 1 or 2, but that's not always consistent. So it's you would want to have them check with each specific faculty member to determine the answer to that.
Wonderful. Oh, let's see. We have another question coming in. So this question is, does a student have to fully move out during the Christmas break or move back in during January, or can they keep their belongings in their room over the Christmas break? And they can keep their belongings in the room over the Christmas break. The only time that students are fully removing their belongings is when they get to the end of the academic year before the summer. The only other time that this might be different is if for some reason a student has a room change and they need to remove their belongings to get to another location, but the bulk of students will just leave their stuff. They'll lock up their rooms. There are a few steps that students complete before they leave just to make sure that everything is good to go before they leave and they're not leaving tons of open food in those spaces. But yes, they can leave them. There's no need to pack up everything. We highly encourage folks to make sure that they're double checking things like any medication that they may need, if they need a passport or something to travel, just making sure that they're bringing those belongings when they leave for that time.
I think there's a question in the chat about what to do if a student has an allergic food reaction, who to contact in the case of emergency. Could you just share a little bit about how the emergency protocols, if a student were to call 911 on campus, how that works?
It's absolutely. We actually handle quite a bit of allergic reaction type calls. They've become more and more common over the years, as we all know. But if your student has an allergic reaction on campus, just please call the police department. We're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even over break. throughout the year. So the emergency number is the 891-3131, and the business line is 2201. No matter which one you call, we'll have an officer at that location in a very, very short period of time. We have the ability oftentimes to drive into the hospital ourselves. More often than not, we'll request an ambulance to come and do an evaluation. The officers do carry EpiPens in the case of an emergency, although we'll always defer to the student's EpiPen if they have one first. But yes, not an uncommon call, but they're very, very quickly triaged. And my daughter also, had a bunch of allergies when she was here as well. So I understand the concern with that.
I see a question in here about maintaining scholarships specific to the Women's Leadership Program. So I'm happy to answer that. So the question is, what are the grades? What are the required? Oops, sorry, the question just vanished. Oh, sorry. Let me just pull that back up. What are the required grades to maintain scholarships and belong to the WLP, which is the Women's Leadership Program? So each scholarship may have its own specific requirements. So I will only speak to the Women's Leadership Program, in which there is not an actual GPA specified that is affiliated with that program. However, students do need to be maintaining satisfactory academic progress. And so in order for that, that is actually defined on the Bentley website if you wanted to go into super detail on it. But basically, they do need to be maintaining a 2.0 as well as progressing in all of their classes and taking the full loads of classes. So that is kind of just standard satisfactory academic progress definition, which also applies in the case of the Women's Leadership Program scholarship specifically.
I also see a question about whether or not students can visit their room over the holiday or winter break if they forgot something. So certainly if a student forgot something and you're local and they'd like to come back to campus, the best thing to do would be to reach out to their residence director just to make sure that they can access that space, because we do have a separate contract for students needing to stay on campus during the winter break. We just monitor that a little bit more closely, but certainly students needing to access because they forgot something or need to, pick up something that they didn't expect to need, we can make sure that access is there for them. So our staff, other than those 2 weeks, we have a full staff working over the break, but even during that time, as Chief Bourgeois said, we have university police staff and on-call residence staff that will be available if there's need to access.
Wonderful. Well, as I see our questions flowing, what I'd like to do is just invite my panelists, if there are any last minute notes that you want to share or reflections as we start to wrap this session for our families.
I would just reiterate that no question is a bad question. We encourage you all to reach out with your questions, even if it is over the break while your student is home. We love what we do and we love to support our students, but also you all and how you can best support your students. So please just know we are accessible. And as Bobby Lynn said, she'll share our contact information as we wrap up.
Yeah, enjoy your holidays, enjoy your winter break, enjoy your time together again, because before you know it, as quickly as this semester flew by, as quick as the winter break will go by. And before you know it, we're gonna be talking about summer break pretty soon. Having seen my daughter go through 4 years here, I cannot believe how quickly it went. And to my colleagues on the screen and to everybody else here, she had a tremendous experience because of the people who work here and what they do, and I'm very thankful for them. And but my point is that it goes by quickly, so don't blink.
Wonderful. Well, as we start to wrap, I wanted to share a few quick pieces about what's next as we start to think about this spring semester. So here are a few highlights of what this spring semester looks like. So we will kick off on January 21st. So this is when courses will start back up in the spring. If your student is living on campus, they'll traditionally arrive on that Monday of the 20th. Institutionally, we celebrate MLK on the 28th, and this is with a campus-wide celebration with different workshops and art displays and different connection opportunities. Students aren't in class that day because we really want to make sure that folks can take advantage of all that this community day has to offer. So definitely be on the lookout for some of those offerings. Again, if you are local and want to take advantage of it, you are welcome to as well. It is a big community effort. Spring break will take place the week of March 10th. Fall registration for undergrad students will take place in April. So as students are registering for their spring courses now, as Frank said, you will blink and we will already be in the spring semester preparing for the fall. So wanted to get that on your radar so you can start to think about that. On April 26th is our spring day, which is a day for our undergraduate students to really celebrate the success that they've had over the academic year. We traditionally have different events during that time. We've had some really big name concerts in the past, but really a day for them to just really relax and enjoy before they're getting into finals and celebrate the work that they've done. Our last day of spring courses on the 30th. Reading Day is on May 1st, and Reading Day is an opportunity for our students. There's no classes. It's a day to really start preparing for finals, making plans for what that looks like, starting to study, working on whatever they might have. We, as Nicole mentioned, we have a lot of opportunity for rest and relaxation and support as we're preparing for finals for our students. And then May 2nd through the 8th are when our final exams happen. So just a very quick, brief snapshot of that. This information can also be found on our academic calendar. So that is also searchable on the new Falcon Experience website. So please feel free to continue to use that as a hub for some of these quick resources. And for those of you who may be on Instagram, I know that we have a pretty strong family following for some of our Instagram accounts. Wanted to highlight some of our areas. So Welcome Falcons is the account that we use for our new students and families. We will continue to populate that through. So please feel free to continue to use that. If you'd like to connect with our Vice President and Dean for Student Affairs, Andrew Shepherdson, he has his own Instagram account that we get to highlight some different staff and student opportunities. So another really great one to follow. And then also Bentley SP&E, Bentley University Police, and then also Bentley Athletics. Some really great accounts to be engaged in and see a little bit more about what campus life is looking like. And then the last few pieces that I wanted to share, if you are not sure where to go and you're looking for one of these panelists, or you're just not sure where to go, orientation@bentley.edu, we are happy to continue supporting folks. And then also our student affairs at bentley.edu. That is going to get you connected directly with our division, and we can help to ensure that we get you connected with the right person. And then, like I said, that new Falcon Experience website will continue to be a hub for quick links and resources. We have a lot of information, a subpage just for family members. So please continue to use that and reference back to that. We are here to help you. As I mentioned, we are partners in this. We are so grateful to have this time with your student, and they have been contributing so much to our community. And we hope that these live chats give you a little bit of insight to continue to support them in these endeavors. So thank you so much for being with us today. I want to give a quick thank you to my panelists, my campus celebrities who help make this work come to life. And if you are gonna be around the campus, please do stop in and say hello. Come to one of these athletic events that Vaughn is talking about. It's just such a great time and such an opportunity to come together as a community. So thank you all so much, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care.